So we'll quickly kind of give everyone an overview of the evidence warehouse. So we're here at a dashboard kind of giving us a status of all the different evidence boxes. So within the warehouse, a single box represents one area or topic that we want to gather the different artifacts for. And each box has a life cycle applied to it. And it starts with this draft or empty state. And this is where we're defining what is this box going to be. Maybe it's going to be user access review evidence for fourth quarter. And we can specify who do we want to collect that evidence from. That could be from named individuals. We could also look to collect based on groups. Groups are particularly useful as folks move throughout the organization, making sure that we know who we would engage for this evidence in the future. Once we're done defining the box, we can send out these collection tasks. So the users who've been defined or selected will get an email notification letting them know that they need to gather some form of evidence. We'll give them instructions and tell them what we're looking for. And then once they've completed that collection, we can perform a review. This review is around making sure that that evidence is what we were looking for. If we wanted a policy or standard, did they give us that? If we're looking for screenshots, did they include the relevant elements within the screenshot in a way that we suspect will satisfy future audit engagements? As part of that review, we can either send it back to collection to get updates, or we can put it in this prepared state. Once it's in a prepared state, we now have the ability to link it to different control tests, to different issues, to different control testing engagements. And once we link it to one of those things, it will go into a supplied state. Big difference here is once it's in a supplied state, it's acting as evidence, and we no longer allow any additions or removals of files to that evidence box. We lock it down because it's now evidence in support of some assurance activities. The last piece is we can time bound these boxes. We can say that it's good through the end of the calendar year or good for the next 12 months, at which point we will archive it, keeping it for historical purposes, but we're no longer able to link it to new control tests or issues or testing engagements. As part of that archival process, we can also trigger recollection. So this works very well for kind of a proactive assurance model, whereby we ask our control owners to gather that evidence in line with performance frequencies. So if we need to review our firewall rules every 6 months, let's ask that they provide that evidence every 6 months so we can gather it and make sure that the control is being performed and that we have the necessary evidence. And we can see here at the bottom, we have a couple evidence boxes that are actually coming up for recollection here in the next 30 days. I want to quickly take a look at one evidence box. This one here is already in collection. We've said that Jay and David would be our collectors and that we would want to review this. We do have the ability to make this accessible to auditors. So if you're using the audit management solution in ServiceNow and you've granted access to the different external auditors, maybe using the external auditor role, we can determine whether or not this particular evidence box would be visible to them. So it allows us to be very targeted in what we share to those different audit groups. Down below, we can see that this will be archived at the end of the calendar year and that we will start our recollection. It's like Monday of the new year, and then we would want to recollect this on a quarterly basis. We had 2 tasks assigned, one to David, which has been previously completed, one assigned to myself, asking that I provide some evidence of the attestation campaign. And in addition to being able to collect this evidence, we can link these evidence boxes to those control objectives that we saw earlier. So this one in support of user access reviews is linked to that attestation certification of accounts control objective. We can in turn link it to each of the individual controls. This is particularly helpful for us keeping context in terms of what this box is and potentially what part of our organization it's covering. In addition to those controls, we can also link it to the different authority documents and citations. So if we're ever asked to pull together a HIPAA package or some sort of privacy package, we have all those linkages back to the different laws, regulations, and best practices that helps us locate this evidence in short order. So a lot of linkages to the various elements of the IRM program.